Well, at the end of the day, this may be a thaw in the rhetoric, because nobody really, at the end of the day, sees it as anything but rhetoric, given that Kim Jong-un is unlikely to be going to Mar-a-Lago and for fear of being bumped off, and perhaps there's nowhere they can really meet unless it was a DMZ.
So I think in the last week, two very significant things have happened. The first is that Trump pointed out to North Korea that they were actually being disrespectful to China. And I think that was actually a very significant message and a very valid message. The second thing is President Trump is recognizing the fact that there's a human dimension here, and that actually, whether we like it or not, the current regime in North Korea is the legitimate regime, has been for the last 60 years plus, and therefore to have dialogue at the national leader level is actually appropriate. Yes, there's been avoidance of that over the last 50, 60 years, but I'm not sure that avoidance has necessarily been the right thing, because it just leads North Korea to make more and more noise to try and get attention. And this is a drama with North Korea trying to get attention as well as trying to protect itself. So I think a new dynamic has been introduced here, which is not about belligerence, but is about, I wouldn't necessarily call it diplomacy, but at least it's about making human connections.
James, that's it as well. But, on the one hand, we've also got this THAAD system, the Terminal High-Altitude Aerial Defense Missile. The US just coming out a short while ago saying that missile is now, or it's confirmed that THAAD is operational now. So that will no doubt annoy Beijing, not inconsiderably, and perhaps make them less willing to entertain what Donald Trump's been saying with regards to putting pressure on Pyongyang.
Well, I'll be very frank. In my personal opinion, that was a major mistake on South Korea's part to allow the deployment of that system here. Everybody may have the illusion that it's somehow going to protect us, but one small battery or whatever number of batteries they choose to deploy on a system that can never give you 100% protection really only does something that maybe is not desirable, which is it begs the temptation of testing it. If I were North Korea, I'd be looking at that and say, let me just give that a test and see whether they actually work as programmed. But the negative sides of it still far beyond that, into upsetting China quite a lot. And to be frank, this whole point that President Trump has made, where the Koreans should pay for it, well, first of all, the Koreans aren't actually buying it. It's the U.S. who will continue to own it. And secondly, maybe that will lead to a change in perspective that will allow that to be removed quietly and get this issue out of the way and off the table between in the neighborhood here.
Yeah, James, the last time we spoke, I think it was around late March, and you were saying there doesn't exist in Korea at the moment, in South Korea at the moment, the intelligence or intelligence of leadership, I should say, to try and fix this stalemate, this very damaging relationship that's developed between Seoul and Beijing. Do you see that emerging or changing for the better following the presidential elections?
So I will repeat what I've said before, which is that I don't do politics, but my statement remains true that there is not the kind of leadership yet installed in Korea that can help it navigate through these challenging times. And unfortunately, I'm not yet confident that there will be the leadership of that sort. And Korea is clearly just the sort of playground for these issues. It's not the main player, unfortunately.